Best way to heal from relationship trauma. Healing from relationship trauma doesn't have to take years or even months. Maybe you've been to therapists, you've done everything that you can to heal your trauma so that you can move forward, so that your past isn't with you and taking up all of your future. Like me, you might have tried talk therapy. A lot of my clients have been in talk therapy for years, talking about their trauma, which revivifies the trauma, meaning it makes them relive that trauma. And then they have those thoughts they can't control that are always there with them. So they can't be present to what's actually happening in this moment. And that leads to that rumination, those thoughts going around in your head that make you just want to go back to sleep, maybe not even get up. You can't face the day with all of those thoughts with you. And maybe understanding how things get put into memory will help you understand why talking about your trauma doesn't help. It might even make it worse because it makes you relive it. So let's look at how memories get formed. When you have a traumatic experience, all your words go offline. Your brain doesn't want to deal with words when it comes to trauma. That's really the thing. So it packs it into your memory, noting what the most intense emotion, that intense negative emotion, it remembers that. And it wraps this memory up in that. And it also sets it to the present tense. So your trauma doesn't feel like something that's happened in the past. When you remember it, you unwrap that intense emotion and it feels like it's in the present tense. And that's how those memories are stored, without words, just feelings and a sense of it's happening right now in this moment. And that's why when we remember the trauma, we do our best to not remember. We dissociate from our bodies. We have headaches. We have anything that will distract us from having to relive that. So talking about your trauma doesn't get to it. It doesn't help resolve it because of the way these memories are stored. It's like using a hammer to fix a balloon filled with helium. It just does not compute. Words have nothing to do with that memory. They can't touch it. It's like that hammer, it just will bounce off of it, and then that balloon will go shooting up in the sky in intensity. And this is why trying to solve or fix emotions with logic doesn't work. I found out that my ex was cheating with receipts, literal receipts. I had the Victoria's Secret receipt that with the pink thing that he bought me, that frilly pink thing in my size, but also in an extra small and a large. And I was left with all of these emotions. After I found those receipts, I had a dream to call Victoria's Secret. And then I woke up, I called Victoria's Secret, 3 different orders, 14 different items of lingerie in extra smalls and large. And I had only received one of those things. I held my cards close to my chest and I asked him questions I already knew the answer to. He kept lying. Even when I said, hey, I know what you're doing, kept lying. And at that point, he made it so easy for me to understand that he was lying and that he was a liar. And he was really committed to his cheating even more than he was committed to me. So it made that decision really easy to just leave. And I immediately started going to therapy to try to understand things, to try to my way out of this. Understanding helped to a certain point. I realized that he wasn't cheating on me. He was just a cheater. Had nothing to do with me. So all that shame I was feeling, that was displaced. But it still left me with this feeling of loss, not losing him, but I had lost years of my life. And as a woman, each year, each month, each day is precious. It's every day that you could be in a real relationship, an authentic relationship. So I don't know what that was, but it wasn't what I thought it was. He wasn't the person that I thought he was. I was left with all these confusing emotions that no amount of talking could resolve. But I tried, and so I would go to therapy 3 times a week, but I was still left with these emotions, and they weren't going away. They were staying at that intense level of experiencing the shock, like my whole world had fallen out from underneath me. And so I went to hypnotherapy because hypnotherapy works at that level where the emotions actually exist and are felt in the subconscious. It was only with hypnotherapy that I was able to resolve those emotions. With accelerated hypnotherapy, you don't even have to talk about your trauma. It's probably better that you don't. I don't need to know all those details. That will bring back all that intensity when you start thinking about it and talking about it. And so you can heal your trauma without even talking about it. Because to fix emotions, words don't matter. Logic and understanding doesn't matter, because trying to fix an emotional problem with understanding is like trying to learn how to ride a bike by watching videos, reading books, talking to other people about it, talking about how much you want to ride a bike. But when there's that choice to feel bad in your trauma or to get on a bike that will actually get you to a destination you want in the direction of your future, you wouldn't know how to ride that bike. Even though you're talking about and thinking and learning how to ride a bike, riding into the direction of your future is really not an option for you. Because learning is different from experiencing. And that's why sometimes when you're trying to tell somebody something, because you've learned that lesson, they don't get it. They have to actually go experience it for themselves and make the mistakes themselves. Only then do they learn it, because learning and logic and language is different from that body experience. In accelerated hypnosis, you actually get an experience of riding that bike. You learn how to balance, pedal and steer, brake, and you practice that in your session and nobody can take that experience away from you. So that when you leave the session, you go back out into your real life and there's a bike laying there. Now you can actually get on that bike and ride it in the direction of your goals, dreams, and desires. It is a choice to leave your trauma in the past and ride away from it into a beautiful future. So if you've been doing therapy for months, years, but you're feeling that it's not able to get you across the line because there's this unresolved emotion that actually makes you want to talk about it, but doesn't quite resolve the emotion. In fact, it might even make it worse. It might revivify and unwrap that point of intensity of your experience as it was happening in the present. Now we know that's how memories are packaged. That's why all of this is happening. And that words and logic and understanding cannot fix emotion. If you've been trying that and it just can't get you across the line, don't get me wrong. I love therapy. I go to therapy. When it's an emotional, traumatic experience that you're trying to resolve, that you're trying to put in the past, you need to deal with those things at the level of the subconscious. And that's where you'll find peace and calm and resolution so that you can actually leave that in the past so that trauma isn't taking up all the space in your future. So if you've learned something, hopefully you'll go on to experience accelerated hypnotherapy. Subscribe and like this video to learn more about trauma recovery. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below and share this with someone who needs it. And let's connect on the next one.